This is my mighty meatball bake. We're talking juicy meatballs, baked in a sweet tomato sauce with pesto and parmesan. What's not to love? See how delicate the meatballs are. For me, that is what clever midweek cooking for the family is all about. Using a mix of lean minced beef and blended lentils, which is better for the planet, better for your pocket, and it's also good for you. So, I am gonna use a food processor. You don't have to, but I find you get a better result. First up, we're gonna use some lovely lean minced beef, 250 grams, and then a tin of lentils, a great source of protein, full of fiber, and we're gonna go 50-50. So that's a really clever way of taking the meat down, but also getting the protein and the nutrition in there, and it's really good value as well. So we're gonna go in with the lentils, drained. I'm gonna season with quite a bit of black pepper. I want a nice little hum of heat there. A seasoning of salt. If you had herbs around, you can put it in, right? It's not in the recipe, but you can. We're gonna use bread, about 75 grams or 2 slices of nice, ideally wholemeal bread goes in. That is gonna give you a nice texture, a nice lightness, and it's gonna bind it really beautifully. And we're gonna add a little bit of pesto, just a little teaspoon to give these meatballs a little bit of a vibe. Now, if you wanted to swap the pesto out for different things, different spices, you know, you can absolutely do that. So we're gonna wazz it up about 20 seconds. And then we're gonna pulse in our mincemeat. Look at that, brilliant. Super simple preparation, really fast. And look, if I didn't have a food processor, what I would do is just get my hands in a bowl and really kind of mash up those lentils and then kind of mix in the mincemeat. Absolutely no trouble at all. So look, before we shape these, I'm gonna start blistering some pepper. I'm gonna put my thumb where the kind of stalk is and just press it in, because what I don't want to do is waste any, and just tear it up into the pan dry. We're toasting and charring, and that's gonna give a little element of smokiness, which I really, really like. Imagine that with sweet tomato sauce. Let's divide up some balls. Some grease-proof paper down, whack it on there. Now, what I've done with the minced beef, you can also do with minced pork or any blends of mince, so you can react to your budget and you can react to your preferences. What I'm gonna do is just kind of turn it into a sausage, roughly like that, divide it in half, divide it into quarters, and then roughly each quarter is going to give you 3 balls, about the size of a golf ball. If you wanted to use this as a little burger patty, you absolutely can. I have a little tip for you. Get a little water in a bowl, and just by keeping your hand a little bit moist, you're going to get a really nice smooth finish. Why do you want them smooth? Just because they get nice and crispy, they've got nice texture. Look at that, nice and smooth. Let's wash my hands. So have a little look at these peppers. You see how they're just scalding up and crackling, and that's all flavor and potential there. Put those peppers into the middle of the pan, add some olive oil, and let's get these balls in. Boom. We're gonna let them get golden and crisp, and they're gonna be gorgeous. Let's wash my hands. After it's had a minute, just see how lovely they are. Look at that. Sizzling away. Get them nice and crispy. Give it a nice little shake. Look at that. Mix it all up. Let's start the fun with the tomatoes. Beautiful plum tomatoes. Use your hand to break up the tomatoes. Then I'm gonna use this tin, about 3/4 full, with water to clean the tin out, but also to add to this. So let that come up to the boil. Give it a nice little grating of parmesan on the top. That's just gonna give you the most beautiful kind of crispy crust. You can do it in advance and you can reheat it, so it's super flexible like that. You can serve it with rice, pasta, bread. You know, it really is a fantastic all-round dish. If you had kind of leftover carrots, onions, leeks in the fridge, you can get that in there as well and get even more veg in there. But there you go, easy as meatballs. I've got the oven preheated to 180 degrees Celsius, which is 350 Fahrenheit, 20 minutes. That's gonna be beautiful. So the room smells absolutely beautiful. Look at that, just sizzling and gorgeous. Let's serve up a nice little portion. Look at that, come on. And then all I do is just finish it. Just a nice little dollops of pesto, just tiny bits, beautiful colors. And then maybe a little extra parmesan, just a little bit. There you go. Happy days. That with some nice crispy bread, you know, pasta or rice, even a jacket potato. Absolutely beautiful. Right, let's have a little try, come on. I'm gonna try and get everything in one mouthful. Pesto, pepper, and a meatball. Really tasty. Like, I feel no compromise, there's plenty of flavor there. It's delicate, it's got crispy outside, fluffy, light inside. I'm really happy with that. It's a great midweek meal, fantastic value, super nutritious, and easy, right? Really quick to do, but really impressive. When I was like 10, 11 years old, I'd be in the kitchen working at the weekends, looking at these big chefs, like working the pans, flames, and I'm like, what is going on? And it was beef stroganoff. Beef stroganoff is one of my favorite dishes. Comfort food at its best. Creamy, mushroomy, tender, blushing beef with the rice that just soaks up all of that sauce. It is absolutely one of the most delicious things. It all starts with the tail end of a really good beef fillet. And I want to slice them up the size of my little finger. If you go too small, everything's going to overcook. And then we're going to season it with salt, pepper, and a little allspice. And just shake it. Coat every little piece of that meat in the seasoning. And then once you've done that, you prep your shallots and your garlic. And really importantly, the stalks of parsley. The stalks of parsley have that beautiful sweetness. Just finely slice it, lemon zest, and then you're ready to cook. Hot pan, in with olive oil, a knob of butter. As it bubbles, we go in with those pieces of beef fillet and just move it around. We want to go hard heat, but I want that beef rare. As soon as it's got a bit of color, we move it out to a plate and then back in the pan with mushrooms. Now with the mushrooms, it's really nice. You know, you can use any mushrooms you like, but the wild mushrooms, girolles, chanterelles are so beautiful, little oysters. Just put them in the dry pan just for a minute and they'll start to toast. And when they toast, they go nutty. Then we go in with olive oil, shallots, garlic, parsley stalks, lemon zest, and the cornichon, shake it all around. And then we start to bring out the sweetness and the depth of flavor of the mushrooms. And then we go in with mustard, smoked paprika. Then I put the meat back into the pan with any juices, and then I add a nice lug of brandy. Flame it, shake the pan around. And that flaming is not just for jazz and fun, like let the flames really kind of like sizzle those ingredients from the top. Let it cook away so you're left with that vanilla-y, barrel-y gorgeousness. And then cream. I like using sour cream and just like rippling it and marbling it through parsley. Season it to perfection, a squeeze of lemon juice, and then you're ready to serve. It's that quick. Simple, fluffy rice on a platter. Meat, sauce, mushrooms, parsley. Oh, the flavor, the indulgence, the tenderness of the beef fillet, beef stroganoff. An absolutely delicious dish. You've got to try it. Enjoy. So one of my favourite pasta dishes I had on my honeymoon in the Amalfi Coast, I've named Honeymoon Pasta. Linguine with gorgeous shellfish, prawns, tomatoes, lemon. And this recipe is definitely a recipe of my heart. It's super romantic, it's really nice to share with someone, and it's so simple. We go into some really fast boiling water with linguine, cook it al dente for sure. So I get a cold pan on the heat, I add olive oil, and as that temperature comes up, I add finely sliced garlic, chili, capers, a little anchovy. Just let the anchovy just melt away. That's your little signal to go in with the clams, the mussels, or any other shellfish. And we shake it all around in that gorgeous flavour. Then I add the prawns, the langoustine, the finely sliced and scored squid. And we shake it all around in that gorgeous flavour, and then in with something a little bit fancy, Prosecco. Let that cook away, and then we crush in beautiful, high quality plum tomatoes. I add some herbs, lid on top. Just in a minute or two, that's enough time to really pop those mussels and clams, and the juices will come out, mix with the tomatoes, and give you the most incredible sauce. By that time, if you're lucky, your linguine is going to be perfectly cooked. So I literally just pull it from the water into that sauce and just toss it and toss it taste it, correct the seasoning, and serve it as quickly as possible. Maybe with a little flourish of olive oil, maybe with a little finish of some fresh herbs, and that's it. It's a thing of joy. It's quick, it's beautiful, super romantic. That is the most perfect pasta. It's incredible to share with someone and serve it as quickly as possible. This is the home of my cooking. It's food that makes me really happy. Honeymoon pasta. Enjoy. The ultimate chocolate tart is a thing of joy. The most incredible pastry with hazelnuts through it. We have the chocolate that's scented so delicately with orange zest, which is amazing, and Vinsanto. And that just confidently cut on a plate with creme fraiche is absolutely the most amazing thing. So what I like to do is get 450 grams of flour, make a little well in the middle. I'll put 2 egg yolks. I'm gonna flavor it with something very special. 50 grams of hazelnuts, slowly toasted, pounded up to a flour. I'll put a nice tablespoon of beautiful vanilla extract, 100 grams of icing sugar, gorgeous butter diced up, and I'll put that around the edge where the flour is. Just rub it through. You'll see it kind of go nice and chunky, almost like a kind of crumble topping. And then beautiful cold whole milk. So as it comes together, just kind of mold it and pack it, and then press it down, put it in some greaseproof paper, and let it rest in the fridge for about 40 minutes. After 40 minutes, I'm gonna cut it in half. Press it together to a nice little round circle, and then roll it out. And then once I've got it about sort of ½ a centimetre thick, I unwind the pastry on top, ease in the sides, and push the pastry into the corners. Then we want to bake it blind. What I use for baking all the time is just some rice, and it sets it so it doesn't shrink down the sides. Pop it in the oven for 15 minutes. At that point, carefully pick up the paper, remove it, then put it back in the oven for about 5 to 10 minutes until it's beautifully golden. Now, while that's cooking, we're gonna make this incredible chocolate. Get 300 milliliters of double cream, bring that up to a simmer. I'm gonna use 2 heaped tablespoons of golden caster sugar. Use a speed peeler to get 1 nice long piece of orange peel. Let that go into the cream. Take your cream that's simmering away off, put the chocolate in with 100 grams of beautiful butter, a nice pinch of salt. Use a little spatula if you want. At this point, remove the orange peel, and then what you can do is add 50 mils of beautiful Vinsanto. This is a thing of joy. At this point, very often, it will start to look like it's gonna split. So we add 100 mils of cold whole milk. It will be incredible to look at. It will smell amazing. And then we take the pastry case out of the oven and pour that gorgeous chocolate straight into it, and we just leave it. That, for me, is the ultimate expression of chocolate. A slice of chocolate tart, a beautiful lob of indulgent creme fraiche with that nice tang, a little glass of beautiful Vinsanto, and for me, that is a thing of joy. So what are you waiting for? Enjoy. Fire-cooked scallops in the shell with Café de Paris butter and the most beautiful smoky bacon and herb, garlicky pangrattato. This is a special starter. Like, we get the most amazing live scallops that come fresh in pretty much every single day. We get them down from Scotland, and it comes from the most incredible cold, clean water. We start with the scallops. We grade them, we take nice big fat ones, we'll shuck them, we'll clean them up, and then I just like to lightly score them in a crisscross fashion. It makes it feel special. It's like a little flower. It kind of holds on to the butter in the most beautiful way. And when we're ready to go, what we'll do is make the most beautiful butter. Café de Paris butter. It's really, really nice to make. You finely chop shallots, garlic, anchovies. We have a whole kind of handful of beautiful fresh herbs, chervil, chives. We've got parsley. We've got a little dill in there. Then we spice it up with a really nice blend, like a house curry powder, just to give it that nice background flavor and a little bit of a thwack. Lemon zest, lemon juice, and a bit of mustard. And then you get this awesome butter. We'll take 3 of those big fat scallops. We'll lob it with that incredible butter. and we'll place them directly onto hot, cindering coals, glowing red. And that heat will permeate the shell, and the shell will cook the scallop. The butter will melt, it'll sizzle, it'll bubble, and it's the most beautiful, very visceral way to cook scallops. You have smoke, you have the cinders, and we don't want to overcook the scallop at all. It's quite a nice quick cook. And when it's ready, as it calms out, we'll give it a squeeze of lemon, and then we'll shake over a pangrattato. Now, pangrattato is a beautiful Italian kind of sprinkle, stale breadcrumbs that we fry with a little olive oil, garlic, some herbs, and this time some smoky bacon, pancetta. And it just gives it the most amazing flavor. We whiz it up like a dust, and we put that on top. And if you imagine the most beautiful, silky, elegant scallop, flavored with that gorgeous, herby, lemony, spiced butter, and then the crunch of smoky bacon and garlic. Oh. That, for me, is a really confident and beautiful, special starter. $15 salad is a thing of joy. This was like a moment in time for me when I set up this restaurant called 15 with these 15 students. I was trying to inspire these young kids to really, really love food. With this salad, for me, it absolutely defines deliciousness. Like the whole idea that a salad could not just be all right, but be utterly delicious. It's kind of like showing you how the taste buds work. Sweet, sour, salty, you know, getting different textures, crunchy, soft, all happening in a really elegant, beautiful plate of salad. First of all, we start with the most incredible mozzarella, but not everyday mozzarella. No. Burrata mozzarella. And it's like the most incredible thing. The flavor, the sort of tang, the creaminess, the texture is unbelievable. And all I do is just take a little bit of salt and pepper, a little bit of sweet, not too hot, chili flakes, and a little bit of lemon zest. And then the final kind of part of the story really is introducing fruit. For me right now, it's all about blood orange, or particularly right now, it's clementine. I'll take, say, a clementine, just peel it, and just get a really beautiful, natural cross section. And I just kind of put a few down, like, you know, you're dealing out cards. That is the most incredible base for our salad. And when it comes to the salad leaves, like, I'm really trying to respond to what's in season. We get things like beautiful, like long, wild rocket. We get beautiful little mitsunas and mustard cresses. There's a herb that's really important that I need to get into this salad, and it's mint. You know, mint, citrus, eating that with the mozzarella burrata, oh, it is a thing of joy. Little bits of endive, interesting chicories, or, you know, the radicchio family, Treviso tardivo. They're peppery, they're feisty, they give a little kick. So you kind of balance that by making a dressing that really gets your taste buds going. So we're talking balsamic vinegar, we're talking lemon juice, maybe a little bit of blood orange or clementine, and cold pressed extra virgin olive oil. You know, whisking that with salt, pepper, until it comes together. And then I dress the salad leaves in that. And when it looks beautiful in the bowl, I pick it up and I wrap it in the most delicious prosciutto San Daniele. Beautiful, nutty, sweet, fatty, cured meat. That will get laid on top of the beautiful burrata mozzarella. And that is nearly perfection. Parmesan. Just take a knife and shave the most beautiful little kind of shavings of Parmesan. It's elegant. It just eats differently. And then last but not least, I finish it with really good barrel-aged balsamic vinegar. Litter this incredible dish with little pops of that intense sweetness. I love it. I've been making versions of that dish for 25 years. And when that comes to the table, it just looks a picture. Fresh, clean, and it looks like $1,000,000. 15 salad, elegant, delicious, and classy. Gravlax, inspired by the classic Swedish dish. What you do is you get these incredible big fillets of salmon, but you could use trout. You put salt on them and sugar, but then we use this beautiful blend of spices, fennel seeds, sometimes a little coriander seeds, a little citrus lemon zest goes in to take it the extra mile, and great beetroots. So vivid purple beetroots, grated and juiced, earthy, sweet, deep, elegant. So this goes into this kind of Gravlax mix with a little swig of local vodka. And once you've done that, you pack these fillets with all of that, and you put another fillet on top, and you rub it all over. And you do that to multiple fillets, and then you put them in a container and you press them down. And then you leave it for like 24 to 36 hours, and it gives you this luminescent fillet, vivid purple. It's had all the residual moisture kind of drawn out. So once the salmon is cured, we remove the fillets and we wash the excess salt and beetroot away. Then you pat it dry, and then you're left with these incredible fillets. And if you hold them up and look at them, they're just amazing. Then we get this beautiful fillet and we cut delicate, thin slices, just wafer thin. I lay that almost like a rose petal around a plate. To go with that, I take fresh horseradish and I peel it, and then I grate it. And that goes in with sour cream and a little salt and pepper and a squeeze of lemon juice. And the contrast of the two things eats so well. Then once we put that beautiful horseradish sauce in the middle, I just take a little bit of time to pick the most delicate, simple salad leaves, maybe a few herbs through there, and just lightly dress it. And what I love to do is take some heirloom beetroots, little baby ones, different colors, and thinly slice those wafer thin. Dress the salad, place it on top. Then I just finish it very simply with some dill oil. Super simple, fresh dill, pound it up, and then muddle in good oil. And then you let it separate, and you have this luminescent green oil that's fresh and fragrant. The contrast of a little bit of salad, you know, a little bit of that hot horseradish sauce with that elegant Gravlax, squeeze a lemon. It's a moment when you have the perfect mouthful. It's like a really beautiful, elegant expression of the food I cooked in my mum and dad's restaurant in the 80s. This, for me, is a signature dish. You've got to try it. We are going to do something very beautiful for the person that you love in your life. Marry me pie. It is a thing of joy. So what's in it? Okay, this is basically a steak, cheese, and mushroom pie, but taken to the next level. It's elegant, it's delicate, it's got the most amazing gravy. So we make, first of all, this incredible pastry. Flour, butter, suet, salt, pepper, and then cold water. While that's resting, we get on with the stew. So first job, you get the short ribs, and we season them generously with black pepper, some salt, some beautiful chopped rosemary and thyme, and a little bit of flour, and we just encrust the short ribs in that. And then we brown it off in a big pan with a little olive oil and butter. And once you've got it nice and golden, we can remove those short ribs, and we go back in again with fresh oil and butter, and we fry off some beautiful shallots, carrots, and celery that we've roughly chopped. Let that cook for about 10 minutes until it's sweet and gorgeous. So when it comes to the mushrooms, we're going to use both fresh and dried. Now with the dried, we take dry porcini, put it into a glass bowl, top it up with boiling water to rehydrate. That is a really deep and savory and mysterious flavor. It's utterly delicious. Then, with the fresh porcini and any other wild mushrooms that you can get your hands on, we'll cook those with a little garlic, a little thyme, salt, pepper, and just do beautiful fried mushrooms and put it to the side to cool down. At this point, we stir through a generous amount of tomato puree, some flour to thicken. We then go back in with the short ribs. Then we go in with some lovely stout or beer or IPA or whatever you truly love. We take the porcini out, just roughly chop it, and then into the pan it goes. We'll make sure everything's covered. We'll just bring it to a simmer, then I'll pop a lid on top, and we'll let that cook in the oven really low for about 5 hours until the meat falls off the bone. Now, we put the whole stew through a coarse colander, and that thick gravy will go through, and that will be your gravy to have with your pie later. And then in the colander, you create the perfect consistency for a pie filling. We'll remove the bones, and we'll just flake it up, and then we'll just let it cool down. This is the fun bit. We make the pie. We'll roll out that amazing pastry, about half a centimetre thick. I'll take a lovely dish and we'll push it into the mould. We then generously grate in some Mrs. Kirkham's Lancashire cheese, my favourite cheese. We put some of that at the bottom. Then we go in with the beautiful short rib filling on top. Once the meat's in, I pat it down, put the lovely mushrooms on top that we've cooked, and then a little bit more cheese on the top. And finally, a beautiful pie top. We roll out any of the trimmings. And because it's a marry me pie, we'll use a heart cutter just to cut out some hearts to put around this beautiful pie. Egg wash, and then we make a little hole in the middle and in the oven at 160 to 170 degrees Celsius for about 40 to 50 minutes until golden and crisp. And there you go, it is a thing of joy. That with the gravy over the top is just so, so good. So what are you waiting for? Enjoy one. I want to share with you a really delicious 20-minute midweek meal that heroes these kidney beans. A fantastic store cupboard staple, great value, great source of protein, counts as one of your 5 fruit and veg a day. So this is my easy veggie spice rice recipe, and we're going to put this rice dish together with other veggies, a little fried egg, and I think you're going to love it. First up, 2 onions. I'm just going to slice up the onions any way you like. And then I've got 1 clove of garlic that I'm going to finely slice for a nice bit of flavour. Put a nice little lug of olive oil into the pan and then just scrape your onions and garlic into that oil. Give it a nice little mix. Let's get these onions getting soft, sweet, caramelised and delicious. And as it starts to fry, what I'm going to do is add some sourness to that. So just a little swig of vinegar goes in. So this way you're going to get sweet and sour. Then I'm going to season heavily with black pepper, a nice pinch of sea salt, and then we're going to add some spice. And this is a really great way to add big flavour to your cooking. So I'm using Cajun seasoning here, which is about 8 or 9 different spices, big flavour, fast. So stir this through, and you can imagine now the flavour's just getting more interesting and more delicious. So, herbs, they're fantastic. They transform your cooking. I'm just going to take a nice little wodge like this. So in you go. It's already smelling amazing, by the way. So I'm very, very excited about this dish. I'm now going to go in with 1 stock cube. This is a veggie stock cube. If you want to use beef or chicken, do whatever you want, just for a nice base flavour. And then we're going to go in with the rice. So, look, I want 300 grams of long grain rice. You can use basmati rice if you want to, right? It's basically a large builder's mug. So we're going to toast the rice in all that incredible flavour. You'll see it almost goes translucent. We're going to go in with 2 tins of kidney beans, juice and all. The great thing about kidney beans, and actually all tin beans, is they're ready and raring to go. The liquor that they come in is really, really useful as well. That's going to give this rice dish a lovely, beautiful, sort of deep red colour, which is going to be amazing. So in this recipe, the principle is perfect rice. So I'm going to give you a recipe which is based around the absorption method. What is that? It means we're not just going to boil rice, right? We're going to have the perfect amount of liquid to the perfect amount of rice to give you the perfect texture of rice. So remember, we did 1 cup of rice. Now I'm going to do 2 cups of boiling water. And that is the perfect equation to give you a delicious rice that's nice and oozy. If you want it to be a little bit drier, then just go 1.5 mugs of boiling water. So bring that to the boil. Have a look at that. Look at the colour, right? Adding these flavours, adding these techniques to the rice dish doesn't just give us a side dish, it gives us a meal, right? And when we put that with a lovely fried egg, it's fantastic for midweek, full of flavour, going to make you feel great, and it's going to be really, really affordable as well. So look, that's come to the boil. I'm going to turn it down to medium. Lid goes on top. 10 minutes, and then I'll show you what to do next. So it's had 10 minutes. Let's have a little look in here. You can see the way that it's all kind of cooked into itself. There's still a little bit of moisture there. So at this stage, we've got about 4 more minutes of cooking to do. It's that quick, right? So it's a really nice quick dish. I want to get another veggie in there that's colourful, full of deliciousness. So I've got 320 grams of frozen peas, and I'm literally just going to sprinkle that over the top. The thing about frozen veggies is they're picked at their best. So lid on, and then we'll steam those peas on top of the rice so we retain the colour and the nutrition and all the good stuff. So, fried eggs. Let me show you how you can turn everyday fried eggs into next level fried eggs. So on a medium heat, a little bit of oil. These are British free range eggs. While that pan is heating up and before it's hot, just crack your eggs in. Look at that. and let them heat up in the pan, right? If you put it into hot oil, it will start spitting and splurting, and it's not as easy to do. What I want to do is flavor these eggs. Take a little bit of salt, and I want to take a little bit of pepper, but also don't forget we got some of that lovely Cajun spice. This just transforms your humble fried egg to the next level. Beautiful flavors. And then you can angle the pan just a little bit and take the spoon and just pour over some of that oil, just so you kind of lightly cook the top. That's the way I like them cooked. And if we go back to the rice now, you can see how the peas have steamed beautifully. I'm just gonna take my wooden spoon and just fold it through. Look at that. And what we've done is not just create a rice side dish, but a proper meal, full of the good stuff. In here, you've got 3 of your 5 fruit and veg a day in one meal. It's balanced because you've got the beans and the rice, so it's a complete protein. We've made it tasty with the cooking method of the onions, the vinegar, all those lovely spices. Absolutely gorgeous. And also, it's going to be a generous portion. We're going to get a nice plate of food. It's generous, really generous. I'm going to take my egg, dab it off on some kitchen paper, a little bit of Cajun spice. Eggs are an incredible protein to have available, and as you can see, they cook in absolutely no time at all. That is a beautiful thing. For me, I think this time of year, when it's still chilly out there, you know, this is a lovely, warming dish, and I think that your lot are gonna love that. So let's have a little try. Bust into the egg. It's nice and oozy, hot and steaming. Mmm. Delicious, really, really good. That sweet and sour onion is in there. It's got that little tang, and with the spice, it's really good. Wow. I want to show you how to make the most delicious winter broth. This is a hearty soup that will fill you up. It will make you feel really, really good. A really therapeutic lunch or even dinner. It's so easy to buy it in a tin, in a jar, but actually making your own is so easy. Really, really nice. So it's still chilly. I would have a jacket on, but I've got the fire to heat me up. Conker's having a little sleep. So the basis of this beautiful hearty broth is a ham hock. And if you've never bought one before, please look for them. If you go to a butcher's or if you go to a market, you're gonna see these, right? Often stacked up high. Like this was £3.50. So this is the hock, what we would call like a shank on a lamb. This is like a hard-working part of the animal. You've got bone, you've got marrow, you've got all the little connective tissues, you've got the fat, and they salt these down and they smoke them, and they're just incredible bases to making your own broth. Whatever you make with this broth, whether it's a soup, a stew, a risotto, a minestrone, it's a thing of beauty. So pick them up. They're cheap and gorgeous. What I did was in this pan, I just covered it in cold water and I let it soak overnight, right? The next day, you throw away the water. I've now covered it with fresh water and I've just brought it up to a simmer. So this is the beginning of the story. So my goal as cook is to extract the most amount of flavour out of the bone, the skin and the meat. I'm going to simmer this for about 2.5 hours until that meat will fall off the bone, right? That's the time when I know things are good, okay? So let's add to this water to make this truly exceptional. So, herbs. Herbs are a beautiful thing. They're really cheap to buy. They're really amazing to grow. Those woody herbs, thyme, rosemary, sage, bay, you know, these are perennial herbs. They're really robust. If you've got them in your garden, you buy them once and you'll never pay for them ever again. I've got some parsley, which you'll have to get from the supermarket at this time of year, but I'll put that in there as well. Some bay leaf, love bay leaf, just a nice little click like that. And then I've got a couple of pieces of celery. Now these outer pieces of celery are always a bit stringy, right? So these are really fresh and a really nice fragrance. And I think this is a really good base to soups and stews. So just hold it together like that. Get yourself some string, right? And then we'll tie it up. Is it worth it? Yes. So that is a version of a bouquet garni, but essentially it's herby, it's fragrant. I might just do a little loop on the top so I can hang it from that hook. so it's easy to remove later on. Before I put this in, let's have a little skim. As you're bringing this ham hock to the boil, you will get some scum on the top. That's fine. Just remove it. So in we go with my version of a bouquet garni. We can just hang it on there like that. That will flavour this broth in the most beautiful way. So salty, smoky, you know, porky. You're getting the flavour from the marrow inside the bone. You've got all those beautiful herbs and the celery. So this is a nice little part of our story. I've got another little hack that I think is really, really cool and fairly underrated. These are dried mushrooms. Okay, so this is a little bit of porcini and morels. So a bit more expensive, but it can be the cheapest mushrooms ever. But dried mushrooms give you that incredible, deep umami. And literally all you need is a little handful like this. See, like that. So whatever dried mushrooms you can get your hands on, just a little handful will go a long way. So just crunch them up in your hands and they will give incredible, deep, meaty, sort of earthy, umami flavours. You know, when you slurp on that, the flavour's just going to go long, long, long. You'll fall in love with the bowl, and as you get halfway through it, you'll love it more and more, and it's because of these layers of flavours that you're investing. So, dried mushrooms, bouquet garni, a little stir here, and what I'm going to do is just put another bit of log on the fire. I'm going to let that simmer for about 2.5 hours, and I'll go back to that pork, and when I can pull it off the bone, we're in a good place to go. Now that's only half of the recipe, right? Because I need to get some root vegetables, I need to get some lovely winter greens, because this is a winter soup, and I want to really express what's out there in the markets or my garden. So let's go and do it. So at this time of year, it's cold. We've had quite a few frosts, and you can look at what's growing in the garden and you can just think it's barren. There's nothing going on. But actually, if you look, you can do quite well. Like, it looks miserable here, but you've got beautiful sprouting broccoli here. And it's what I call going grovelling at this time of year, like making the effort to get in there, and particularly the brassica family, cabbages, Brussels sprouts, sprouting broccoli, red cabbage, green cabbage, you know, all of that family, super nutritious. It's had a frost, so it's broken down some of the fibrous connective tissue, released some of those natural sugars. So actually, when it comes to veggies and nutrition, there's some really good stuff. I mean, look at that. So that, in our little broth, is going to be amazing. I love that sound. You know, all of these things really benefit from a frost. And the brassica family is, like, you know, so easy to grow, super nutritious, and whatever form they come in, from cabbages, white, red, Savoy, you know, Chinese style cabbages, Brussels sprouts, sprouting broccoli, they're just so delicious, you know, and in all the different age forms as well. Can you see? Like, these are all different sizes, but the same thing. You know, you can eat these whole, delicious. So even if they look a little bit beaten up, and maybe a little bit nibbled by something, you just put your knife in that little back bit of the root and you just peel off that outside layer, and it's just going to reveal the most beautiful little mini cabbage inside. Look at that. And you'll be left with something beautiful. Look at that. So here is the Brussels top, one of my favourite bits. So anything like a little bit caught, you can get rid of. But all of these leaves here are just juicy and delicious. Just raining down Brussels tops. These look beautiful. Oh my goodness gracious me. This is another level. So these are really nice. So on this massive stalk here, you can just click off. This is kind of like a Brussels sprout. It's a different variety. As I open it out, just look at the colours. You know, the light green hasn't seen any daylight. The dark green has. Super nutritious. You've got almost like a little bud, sort of almost Brussels-like cabbage there. Beautiful colours. So here Swiss chard in all their glorious colours. Got some red here. So the stalks I'll cook separately, the leaves, gorgeous. And I tend to not just cut them off, but take the bigger leaves first, and they carry on growing. Look at the colours in here. So I love that idea that in winter you presume that it's miserable, depressing, and maybe it is, maybe that is true. But I like the idea that if you're a cook, whether you're growing your own stuff or just searching, you know, adventuring down the markets, supermarkets, even, you're finding colour, you're finding optimism. And of course, when you're making something as gorgeous and slurpy and therapeutic as a broth or soup or a stew, you know, you can really bring that to life. Look at that, just beautiful. I've picked it a little bit early, but I don't care because this broth is worth it. Look at that. A little Romanesco style cauliflower, and the leaves are really good. Celeriac, beautiful. So I've washed all those beautiful greens and I've got my root veg ready to go. After like 2.25 hours, I love how the broth has changed colour. Can you see how those little bits of fat are just on the top of the broth? So let's just remove this pork for a moment. Oh, it's falling apart. You know it's tender when you can't even get it out. Look at that bone. Right, so you can see the meat is so tender, right? It's handed over a lot of its seasoning, its salt, its smoke, its flavour. And this bone, look, you can see, it's gorgeous. That goes back in the broth. This can just stay out for a little while. Let's chop up some veggies. So simple, humble, cheap veggies, right? Carrots. So what I want to do is just prep up some veg and get it in that broth. So first up, some carrots. Just half it and roughly chop it. Let's just push it into the broth. Then we're going to have some turnips. Now we've got the greens here. The turnip greens are really nice. So I'll just take those off and I'll save these for later. Turnips, super underrated. And again, just chop them up so you get roughly sort of 1-2 centimetre chunks like that. Look, beautiful. So for me, you know, this soup is absolutely all about celebrating the cheapest of ingredients. Onions, carrots, celery, probably the cheapest cut of pork, making litres of soup and being able to feed quite a large amount of people. Nourishing, nutritious, and, you know, flavours that make you feel like just really grateful and good. Celeriac from the garden. So I've given it a good wash, but you can see there's quite a lot of mud there. So I'll just trim that little kind of furry part off. So just cut off that root and then take off the end. With the celeriac, you can peel it if you wish. If it's nice and clean, you don't have to. You can see, actually, this is a little discoloured, and that's from the frosts that we've had. But don't let that put you off. It's nice and firm, and it's going to be utterly delicious. So, centimetre slices. And, you know, the way I'm cutting this veg on purpose is rough and ready and not perfect. So onions roughly chopped. Then we've got celery. Now what I like to do with the celery is just remove these beautiful leaves. These can be part of the greens going in. So if we just cook the life out of them, they're not as magnificent as they are. So we'll remove those. And the green celery leaves are slightly bitter, not so positive. The yellow ones, beautiful, fragrant, and a real gift. And basically you could use any root veg you can get your hands on. Swede is particularly good, but I haven't got any. So that goes in. I've got a potato. So just one potato, 200 grams, just diced up. Somehow just getting the odd little hit of potato, it absorbs that lovely seasoned smoky broth, and it's just so nice. So a little bit of spuds, not loads. And that's it. So what I'm going to do is now add some pearl barley. Have a little look at this. This is very, very old school British and sort of peasant food, really. And this will swell up when cooked in broth. It will triple in size and it will almost sort of plume out and it becomes soft and creamy and spongy. So it takes about 35 minutes to cook. So just let that rain down into the broth, and I'm going to let that just simmer now for another 35 minutes until the pearl barley is nice and tender. Then we'll go in with those beautiful greens that we picked, all chopped up nice, and that will be pretty much the end of this beautiful broth. Now I know cooking over fire probably feels like really old school and rustic. It's a beautiful thing to do, right? Probably more cooking has happened like this than in a home, on a hob, in a stainless steel pan, right? Which is relatively new. But if you are at home, get your biggest pan. You can do this, make a beautiful batch of broth, enjoy it that weekend, and then you can save it for the week to come. You can even freeze it down. If you look, you've got the heat source here, then you've got the smoke, and the smoke's kind of licking around the top of the pan. So your standard like braise, ragu, bolognese, chili con carne, soup, you know, stew is going to have that kissing of smoke that gives you that extra flavour. So it's a beautiful way to cook. So look, half an hour and then I'll finish the soup. So look, I've gone grovelling in the garden, had a little look around, but the same principle applies to you going down your local, you know, town market or even supermarket. Have a little look, see what's local. You know, there's always going to be local veggies that are at their best and most nutritious and cheapest. And like, there's nothing cheaper than the cabbage family, honestly. Like, it's not like you normally have to pay much for them, right? So what I tend to do now is just use my common sense to pick off the green leaves, right, and chop them up so they're nice kind of mouth-sized pieces. With things like stalk, obviously they're a bit more dense than the leaf, so we can just cut the stalk up, put it to one side, and we'll cook those a little bit more. And each one of these different veggies has a whole chemistry. And your body, when it's at its kind of most kind of cold, miserable, bit fluey, you know, when you're feeling a little bit, ooh, like this is the food that's going to bring you up. That's the power of cooking, right? Really nice thing to do. And you'll have leftover broth that can make risottos. You know, you can use the broth in other soups and stews. Any leftover veggies or bits of pulled ham hock, you know, you can put that with some cheese in a lovely toasty. It will make something truly magical. So look, common sense here. We have the little Brussels sprouts quartered to make them cook quicker, and the stalks of chard. They go in now. They only need 5 minutes, and we'll get that boiling again. So even though we've been simmering that ham hock for like 2.5 hours, you know, I don't want to so overcook the veg that it all goes grey and disappointing. So got some nice kale. Now the leaves can go in. Just load it up, and then the celery leaves and the turnip tops, we'll just clank these up and they can go in. So let's just get this fire roaring a little bit, and we'll lose now that bouquet garni. It's done its work, and it's done good work. Fragrance and herbs, that'll be composted, and let's give this a nice little stir. Get rid of the bone. And if I go deep into the pan, can you see how beautiful that pearl barley has swelled up, tripled in size? Give it a nice stir now. Look at the colours. So look, we got the ham hock here, and this outer skin can come off. There's nothing on here that I need. You could try and fry that up and get it crispy, which could be very nice. Amazing as a base to cooking off greens and spinach another day maybe. But if you look at the meat here, I'm just going to use my hands to pull it apart. So I'm just going to shred it. Pull off any other little bits of bone or skin. So in we go with this beautiful ham. Conker should have been here for this. He would have got a bit of ham. Conker! Conker! Like, he's going to miss out big time if you don't get here for this. This is, I'm going to take a little bit just for him, just in case he comes back. There you go. Right, let me go and wash my hands. Okay, let's stir that through. This is really coming together now. Look at the colours. Yes, properly gorgeous, rustic, old-fashioned cooking. This is something that my nan would have loved. My goodness, you know, real food, full of love. Okay, now for something not very traditional. I'm going to take a little creme fraiche, bit French, bit posh, some English mustard because they are our neighbours and we should have a union of love. So heavy on the mustard, 2 teaspoons with about 3 tablespoons of creme fraiche. And I'm going to mix that up to make a very hot cream. And that is going to be a really hot, creamy little sauce. And that going into your hot bowl of veggie ham hock broth with the pearl barley, with those little chunks of potato and maybe a little bit of bread, right? Triple carbs, right? That is going to be a thing of joy. So not traditional at all, but I like it. Now is the time to serve. I've got a little bit of bread that I've been just toasting next to the fire, heating up. So get yourself a nice rustic bowl. Mix that soup from the bottom so you get a little bit of everything. This all feels very good. Look at that. So there you go. Old school. Ham hock, veg, pearl barley, broth. Hot and steaming. Although certainly not British, if you've got good extra virgin olive oil, I just feel that this works so nicely. I'll take a little bit of this bread that's toasting up. Just tear it in there. And that, with a little bit of that hot mustard creme fraiche, it just works. A nice pinch of pepper. Right, time to get in there. So I always start with a slurp. Delicious. So clean, so healthy. Deep flavours from the mushroom and the smokiness from the ham hock. Go to the bottom of the bowl and you get all that lovely pearl barley. Look at that, the colours, the pink, the yellow carrot. So good. You just know that this is good for you. And then pull that bread apart and just let it get soaked into all of that goodness. Get a little bit of that mustard creme fraiche. A little bit of that hot, nasal English mustard vibe. So good. It's a bowl of goodness that has all these different dimensions. Delicious. So there you go, lovely people. I mean, all right, I've got a fire going. We've gone old school, but ultimately the principles remain the same. Get your biggest pan, get down the market, buy cheap veg, seasonal veg, get that ham hock, and just spend a bit of time. It'll be hardly any work, it'll just be time. Time is the gift here. And then have a slurp up. Have something like this, it'll make you feel really, really good. Get your own little bowl and just enjoy.